Hey Phil, great to be with you today. And first of all, congrats on this amazing news that Peakon is being acquired by Workday, which is, as most people know, the world's leading human capital management and financial cloud software solution. So it's amazing. Congrats on that. But let's go back to the beginnings. So for us, we invested in Peakon early 2018. The company was still quite small, but you had started a few years earlier. So it'd be great if you could tell us a bit about the beginnings of Peakon and what was the spark that got you to start the business.
Thanks a lot, Bernard, for those kind words. Indeed, yeah, you came in 18, which seems like a lifetime ago now, but Peakon was actually founded in 2nd January 15. But the origins of the business actually go back some way further into the past. I had a look, as you sent over these questions, I had a look, and the first sort of brainstorming we did was in 2012. When our previous, at least I'd been in a previous business called Podio, which had been acquired by Citrix, and I guess sort of that gave me some of the impetus to start thinking about what may be next. But it took a really long time for any of those ideas to come to fruition, and I think we knew we wanted to do something, and we knew we wanted to work with some of the people that we'd met along the various journeys that we'd been on. We didn't yet know what that was, and it was really kind of in the summer of 2014 when I got a bunch of people together in a Danish summer house up in a little town called Rorvig, which I'm probably murdering the pronunciation of, and we pitched different ideas to each other, and Dan came up with the idea for Peakon, and it kind of won objectively on the criteria that we'd set out.
Fantastic. And when you started, I thought you decided to build a company with a special emphasis on culture. So can you describe what this was?
I think the way we described it internally was that we wanted to build the kind of company we wanted to work for, and then we kind of went through and said, well, what were all of the great and not so great aspects of places that we'd worked before, and really tried to make those the foundational values of Peakon, and I think that is something, well, it wasn't called Peakon back then, but foundational values of Thrive, but that's something we've held really dear and has evolved, and I think it's been a key asset, and also we've obviously used our product on ourselves from the very early days.
What would you describe as your key pillars of that culture then?
I think that transparency, almost radical transparency, was a really early one, and I think that was borne out in some of the what some of our investors describe as outlandish decisions that we made. I remember the first time I told you about the open salary model and the fact that everybody knew what everyone else got paid and how many share options you had, and there were quite a few raised eyebrows around the table around how sustainable this kind of radical transparency was. But honestly, we stuck to our principles on many of these things, and we also we had this idea about building for tomorrow today, which was codified later on. But I think even in the early days, we had very strong conviction around the product philosophy, and it would be the Peakon way, it would be the Peakon methodology, and this would give us these other advantages in terms of structured data and better insights, and that was a very difficult thing to stay true to over the years. We had many discussions around it on the board, but actually, you look at backwards now, and it was the right decision to have made.
So you feel that you were able actually to keep this up, to keep this culture up all throughout the journey?
I would say so, yeah. Although the culture has clearly evolved, and I think we have a much better way of describing and codifying it now, and we've been through several iterations of that. Obviously, new people have joined the business. We're much bigger now, and we have refreshed the values over time, and I think we have a really succinct, lovely way to describe them now, that is also comes down to a sort of behavior level. We also have them per team, and we have a really nice book with the whole history of the company that you get as a new joiner, and we distributed a copy of that to everyone over Christmas, which was a great thing to do.
Cool. And so what were the original goals of the business when you started?
Yes, so I think there's two ways of looking at this. So I think the idea for Peakon was really built on trying to look, 5 years ahead of the future and saying, well, what's going to change? And the sort of central, I think, realization that Dan came to, he'd come from a sort of marketing world, was that, this application of data and continuous real-time analysis had been done on the customer. But if you really believed that people were the most important thing in the business, the old Jerry Sanders adage, and that products and profits would follow, that this would then be applied to employees. So we had I would say, fairly nebulous view that we would somehow use real-time data to improve management in companies. Of course, then when we started the business on January the 2nd, we ended up like going to the stationery shop and buying some pens and putting some of that sticky paper on the walls in my living room. And I actually have, you can see it, but the original poster here, which I've got a photo of. So we wrote down the core product concepts, and they were really a best-in-class survey technology rooted in psychology. We'd written around some of the techniques which are still unique to Peakon in terms of the way the survey self-optimizes. We got reporting analytics in there, and one of the things I'd written down here was two-sided managers, and I'd underscored and employees in the process, which again is a core thing that's really unique to Peakon now with personal dashboard. We had trend lines again, which was fairly revolutionary in the industry when we introduced it. A lot about collaborative action planning, and then bringing in external data and allowing our customers to test hypotheses. And we've seen this in action now with people testing, should they move from minimum wage to living wage? What difference would that make to engagement? So a lot of the things that we'd written down on the first day, I think have actually taken 6 years to come to fruition at scale, but still remain true, which is really nice to see.
That's great. Fantastic.
So it'd be quite interesting, but I don't think I've ever asked you this, but why exactly did you invest in us at Series B, and why were we so keen on the company at the time?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Well, first of all, to be honest, I like the product market equation. I had seen the need of this kind of product in large companies like SAP or Capgemini, where I've been on the board of for many years. And I thought the employees progressively were becoming a lot more demanding of their employers and wanted to get more engaged. So I like that. But to be honest, what really convinced me was more that strong sales-driven culture that you had, which I recognize as a mark of very successful US businesses, and which have been very strong in software. I love the product-focused mindset. You had, as a founder team, you had strong convictions how the product should work, and they were, as you said, they were rooted in really strong beliefs, and so I thought that was a mark of a team that had the drive to push its product and its new innovation through. The radical transparency in the culture I felt was great, although it was, as you said, it was a little bit surprising at first, but I thought it was different. I also like a little bit the Scandinavian look and feel, the clean, simple, unfussy design that I think touched a little bit everything that you guys did. And I think we hit it off, you and I. I think you have a very casual but friendly and very collaborative leadership style, which I felt we could work very well with each other. So yeah, I was very excited, and I'm glad it worked out. so that was that. Yeah, and then back to you, and this particular round, because I really wanted to invest in a business as I described, but it was competitive. So on your end, why did you pick us? You had the choice at that time.
We did, and I don't know whether I've ever told you, we didn't even make the best offer. Although it did seem like a very tough negotiation, at least from my side. I think one of the things that you said to me during the process was that this feels like business objects in the 90s. And I think that was probably the phrase that really convinced me that you really believed in in our company, and and I thought, well, if we can bring even a small slice of that type of success to Peakon, then you're probably the right partner for us. And you'd done it before, you'd had the experience, you'd scaled into the US, and I think, like you say, the chemistry was there. So we just felt like, you should choose your board members very, very carefully, and you need to invest the time in getting the right mix, and it just felt like the right match for us.
Oh, cool.
And I think that's been borne out.
I'm going to reuse that phrase then with other entrepreneurs. But anyway, so fast forward, 3 years now, you've grown tremendously. The company has hundreds of employees, and so yeah, give us maybe an insight on some of the pivotal moments of that journey.
I think you sort of make your own luck to some extent in these things, and there are some inflection points in our business which, they were lucky breaks, but we also kind of made them. So just to give you one anecdote, we sent 250 cold emails, not really knowing what we were doing, to companies in Berlin. And one person replied to that mail shot, which happened to be the CFO of Delivery Hero, Emmanuel. And then, of course, we said, oh yeah, we're actually in Berlin tomorrow. Immediately bought plane tickets, jumped on an aircraft, and went and had the opportunity to pitch their management team. So it was a group including Nicholas Osberg sat around the table, and they just loved the idea, and they were going through explosive scale. I think about a few hundred people at the time, and came away from that meeting not only with a contract for them to use Peakon in a very, very early state, but then Nicholas called me and said, well, I would like to invest in the business as well. So it was just such a great validation, and we seized the opportunity, and they became our most profitable client. They grew, obviously everyone knows their story, 5 billion euro IPO and 17,000 employees, I think now, and they've been using Peakon ever since to manage their business. So things like that, were really pivotal moments for us on the journey.
That's great. And what were or was maybe some of the hardest moments?
I think that the company, it's hard in different ways at different stages. I probably still maintain that the first year it was the hardest in Peakon, because when you have strong convictions and strong belief, but at the end of the day you have no money, no customers, not much of a product, and no traction. You're not drawing a salary, and that is a tough thing to rally the team around. I think we ran the risk of splitting apart in that first year, but we managed to sort of unite everyone on this concept of getting 20 quote unquote customers on the product by the end of the first year that would be very unhappy if they couldn't use it, and of course they weren't paying any money. But I think this whole Dan drew a big blackboard. We made the 4 peaks to peak happiness, and then we said, look, if you're unsure of what to do, just move some logos along this board. That's what everybody has to do, and that really got us through that first year. And then at the end, Guillaume Durao, we met again fortuitously, but he put 4 million in pre-revenue, and then we were sort of on to the next stage then. But that was a tough year, and there were times when it wasn't obvious that we would make it. From your seat, Bernard, what do you think that we did particularly well on this journey? From your perspective as an investor and a board member.
Yeah, no, I think you did lots of things very, very well, and for me it's been really enjoyable to work with you guys, and Peakon has been one of my favorite companies now in the past several years. And one is it because I think you and I had a good relationship, and we've been able to work with each other, and I felt that we engage into many topics in a true sense, and whether it was the planning process for each year, the management structure, also enhancing the board leadership, executive hiring, financial discipline, US expansion. So there's a lot of things where we had to tackle these issues, and I thought we did it in a very constructive way, and that's great. So this is the kind of relationship that we as investors we love to have. It doesn't always happen, but in this particular case, I think it was fantastic. Also, one thing is that, and it doesn't happen also all the time, is that we use your products. So we've been using Peakon internally and at Bulletin, and actually it has been a game changer for us in terms of the transparency, the feedback loops, and the actual engagement. And I think we've been increasing the satisfaction of everybody at Bulletin. So I want to thank you for that.
That's great to hear.
So now, I mean, you have decided, obviously, to join Workday, which is an amazing company. But tell us a little bit how it came about.
So it was long been an ambition of ours to partner with Workday, obviously, as the sort of premier HCM cloud solution in the market. Many of our customers use Workday, and the experience, when you use Workday and Peakon together is much better. So we've been pursuing kind of partnership conversations, and we've made some progress there and managed to get a native integration done, which was great. Sort of in parallel, I was having conversations with Workday Ventures, and I, had a meeting with Betsy there, and sort of, I think I made some maybe funny comments about what a great strategic match it would be. If I was in their shoes, this is what I would do, kind of thing, as a bit of a joke. That was probably 8-9 months ago, and then I think one thing led to another, and I think the Workday team started to explore exactly what our product suite was. We gave demos to various people in the product organization, and I think it became clear that there actually was a really great match. There wasn't a huge overlap in terms of what we did, and we had a very strong shared vision around the future of this category. And it was quite uncanny, actually. Some of the strategy slides had the same phrases on them, which we kind of independently come up with. From that perspective, it became an easier decision.
Was it truly an easy decision?
I would say it's a very logical decision. It was not an easy decision whatsoever. I mean, I think probably the hardest decision I've had to make, in my life. It was never our intention to sell the company, and we'd gone so far, again, radical transparency, to tell the entire employee base, some years ago that we wanted to IPO this company, and that was the sort of path for Peakon. However, we're also extremely mission driven, and our mission is to help every employee drive the change they want to see. And when you look at both the quality of Workday as a company, the caliber of the people who work there, and then the incredible reach, they're growing very fast. And then you overlay Peakon onto that, and you think, well, how much more quickly could we enable every employee to drive the change they want to see if we joined forces? And how much better could we make that product experience? Then I think for all of those reasons, it makes a lot of sense to do this.
That's great. That's great.
And what's your perspective, Bernard, on this? Because I guess I'd also shared this IPO dream with you.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, it's always a bittersweet moment when something like this happens, because on one hand, I wish we could continue this journey, and it's been fun. We've had the company has had great success, and then you could see, okay, the company could become one of those multi-million-dollar or multi-billion-dollar businesses, and democratize the concept of employee engagement across the world, and do it as a standalone business. But on the other hand, Workday is a fantastic home for Peakon, and I have had the chance to see Workday develop from its early days. At Business Object, we were a partner of PeopleSoft, which was Dave Duffield's prior company, where Anil Bushri also worked. So I had a connection to what they had built, and I saw when Workday got started, and I thought that they were one of the super rockets of Silicon Valley, but which also had a really strong culture. And I felt that it would always be sort of the best possible match with Peakon. So to me, I think if something like this is going to happen, this is the best company to do it with. So I'm really happy that it is happening.
Thank you.
And so, and with that, I mean, so for you, Phil, so going forward, what's truly the things that excite you as part of Workday?
I was chatting to Torben this morning, our VP of product, about the incredible backlog that we have. And, you know, I think we just laid out a really exciting 5-year vision for our product. And I really feel like we're just getting started. So I think that you know, to bring all of the resources that Workday have to bear together with our product vision and really be able to build the product that we've always dreamed about and execute on some of those things in the strategic plan. And make a difference to you know, probably the majority of really important companies in the world, and that's incredibly exciting to me.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, first from Balderton, we want to thank you because it's been a fantastic period to work with you and your co-founders and the management team you brought and everybody at Peakon. It's been really fun. And it's been super successful. So thanks for that. And we wish you best of luck in the upcoming journey as part of Workday. Thanks again.
Thanks very much, Bernard. It's great to chat and hopefully see you at the Schloss Elmau later this year.
Absolutely. All right. Cheers.